Hello, hello, and welcome to the newest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. Thank you for tuning back or tuning in again. I don't know which is the correct way of saying it, but I hope you understand the gratefulness that's behind me being grateful for everyone who's taken the time to listen to this episode. Um, and what an episode you picked to listen. You know, it's a good one. It's a very good one. Um, before we get into it, before you listen to my conversation with Radu, I just wanted to give you a bit of a, I don't know, to sum up my week, because I was meant to record, or I was meant to release another episode on Friday, but I genuinely just could not. You know, I'm still, I feel like I'm recovering from a cold of some sort. Although it wasn't a traditional. I don't know. It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't the traditional sort of cold that I had. I've been sweating loads, just feeling super tired, very sore, like the whole body, as if I don't know, like run while doing push-ups and squats, all at the same time. That's kind of like how my body feels, weirdly, or has felt for the past week. And not even today, as I'm recording this, which is Sunday for you to listen on a Monday, but not even today do I feel good. If anything, I feel like my legs were very sore. I had to go out, and I chose to go and walk a bit more than I did in the past week, just because I wanted to check like where I'm at physically, but also just because, you know, it's yeah, it's nice to get those steps in. You know, get take some time to just enjoy a walk to the voting station. You know, I went and did my duty as a good, you know, citizen of no, is it citizen? Yeah, it's a citizen, as a Romanian citizen, as a citizen of Romania, although living overseas, but you know, a citizen nonetheless to of a country that I love, and I'm proud to be a part of. um, yeah, I went out and to vote, you know, and I did vote. I went to the wrong station though at first, so it was interesting because I woke up really early to get to the station before I'd get back home and record a podcast episode with another guest. But obviously, you'll hear that episode later, and you'll hear who I've recorded with too. But yeah, the plan was to get there early, got there very early. Turns out I was in the wrong place. So I had to go to a different polling or voting station. And I was kind of scared because I remember from the last time I went to presidential election or like presidential voting in Manchester at the time, it was busy. It was very busy. While this time it was not. There were some people outside who I think they just voted and probably waiting for their mates, you know, to get out. But yeah, there was no queue, you know, so it took a very short time, and then I walked home, but still felt so tired, and also I was sweating buckets just from a simple walk, not even like uphill or anything, just a straight line walk. And that kind of made me, you know, a bit frustrated and a bit annoyed because I again wished I was, I don't know, because again I don't even understand where did I pick up this cold. I've been in the house for most of the time, you know. um the heating is working, you know, so that's, it's not like I'm sleeping in a cold. But yeah, look, I remember last time when I recorded, I was telling that I will keep you up to date with how my meditation is going, as I'm trying to do it every day, and I've been unsuccessful to do it every day, but I've not given up. I've done 10 minutes today, and I am hoping to do it again basically tomorrow and the day after and so on. But I think, I don't know, for maybe like 2 or 3 days in a row this week. So I think probably between, I don't know, I think Thursday, yeah. So between Thursday when I had to go to uni, between Thursday and today, which is Sunday. So there were 3 days that I haven't done the meditation, and I think at one point I thought, oh, I might just give up anyway. But I chose not to. I just did it today when I came back home from the polling station, and again I will try to do it again, because I kind of feel like it's been very helpful in regards to cleaning my head, especially when I'm trying to write more, and also when I'm trying to read. I Because of these 5 minutes of guided meditation and 5 minutes of silent meditation, which will hopefully be a 10-minute silent meditation. That's what I'm working towards. It's yeah, it's kind of helped me out, get on the mindset of, okay, I need to clear up my head, and all I need to do is just think of funny thoughts, or I'm writing something down. I just need to think about this sentence and this sentence only. um, so that was quite good. It's just that, again, it feels like the past week it went on so fast that I didn't even realize when Thursday happened. It's just that I was like back to back appointments and uni and everything, and then Friday was the same. And so yeah, I think that's why it got a bit overwhelming, and it kind of like got out of hand. And on Saturday, trying to keep, I don't know, no, actually, because I was gonna say I tried to keep Shabbat. It just happened that I went to Shabbat service at the synagogue, and then on the way, or like when I came back home, I was once again feeling very tired and very sore, and I just fell asleep on the couch, thinking that I would only do it for maybe half an hour, and I woke up 4 or 5 hours later. 4 to 5 hours later. So that was quite a interesting Saturday, and then again on Sunday, been busy. But look, folks, I think that pretty much sums up my weekend. I'm not going to keep you any longer anyway, because I am planning to release two more episodes this week. Sorry, one more episode this week. So we will discuss in more details on Friday. Or if I can think of anything else, I will tell you on Friday. But now, look, enjoy my conversation with Radu. It was amazing to get the time with him. It was also, it's wonderful because I've known him since I think since around the time, or maybe I was already in UK, but I was keeping up with like Romanian TV when I first saw a bit that Radu did. And then I haven't kind of like obviously followed up with his work because I was in Manchester. Um, and I was also like not a, although I love comedy, I used to enjoy comedy mostly on the telly rather than going to live shows. But I had the mm, honor, luck, privilege. That's a good word. Privilege. I had the privilege of meeting him, or like getting to work for him later, earlier in the year, when he's offered me the opportunity to do my second ever Romanian speaking comedy set. Um, and then we call it kind of like carpool there with a couple other comedians, and it was really nice, just chit chatting. And then I've done once his comedy immigrants night, and I'm also doing it again next Sunday on the 1st of December. So I'm very grateful for that also. And he's just a lovely person. He's yeah, he's just such a nice person. I don't know what I expected, um, but he's definitely so much nicer than what I thought, or like how I thought it would have gone. You know, so yeah, he was super cool. Was like, I don't know why I'm using these words, by the way. I feel like I'm starstruck on a, on the memory. I feel like thinking about the fact that he came over and we recorded the episode and it was good, and it was really fun, and I enjoyed it so much. And I think once again he's a wonderful person, a great comedian. I really really enjoy his work, and I've watched his and I would recommend you to watch as well his special is on YouTube, and it's free, so you can watch it without paying anything, and it was very good. I really enjoyed the humor. Obviously, I might be biased being a fellow Romanian doing comedy in English, but yeah, great special on YouTube. And also his current show, Politically Erect. His, I think, as I'm speaking, he is in Austria doing the show. And there are some more dates for next year in the UK. And you should check it out because it's good. But that's enough from me. I'll let you enjoy the episode now, and we'll catch up before we wrap it up for good. But yeah, enjoy the episode, and yeah, that's it. Okay, so Radu, thank you so much for doing this. How are you today?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to being known by your viewers.
Well, it's sound only, so it's the listeners, but
The listeners, yeah.
yeah, I get it.
Anything to sell a ticket.
That's very true. Oh man, I don't know where to start. Well, okay, I'll start here. How's your journey here been?
Oh yeah, pretty good. I was like central London, so I came from Liverpool Street. It wasn't that bad.
Nice, because you're obviously you're based in London. You've been here for
I've been here for like 8 years now. 8, yeah, over 8.
And when you got here, were you already? Because I can't remember. Were you already like doing comedy?
Yeah, I was doing comedy in Romania.
In Romania, yeah.
And I left. I came with the. I just kind of wanted to transfer my career. I didn't. So that was like the objective. I could like nothing. Nothing more, nothing less. Maybe something more, but I couldn't take anything less. So I was very motivated when I came here to kind of okay.
But how long have you done comedy for in Romania before you came here?
Something like 9 years.
Wow.
And then 9 years here. I did the maths better. So yeah, 9 years here, 9 years there. So
nice. So you're like you're getting your right to vote now.
Yeah. I should vote as a comedian who gets to do comedy, and it doesn't.
But I mean, look, this is the thing, because I remember before I came here, seeing you on TV in Romania a couple of times.
Okay.
And then obviously like years later, I start doing, or like a year later I get back into like being interested about comedy, and I see your work, or like I see your name like in loads of places, and I was like, oh wow, but yeah, kind of like, what was it then like when you were in Romania? Because it wasn't like, I don't know, I feel it wasn't like everyone's job, or it wasn't like a career path that anyone was thinking to do. How did you get into it?
Oh, I always wanted to do like comedy, and even though, so I started comedy in like 2006, and the first comedy club in Romania opened like in 2003. I had no idea about it, but I knew I wanted to do something in comedy from like I don't know, like 1997 or something.
No way.
So yeah, I was always I don't know, comedy always made sense to me for some reason. I always kind of like any comedy movie, anything as a kid, I really loved, and so on.
When were you like a creative kid growing up? Like you always explore this, or was that your first interaction with arts?
Definitely my first interaction with arts. I was like in like maths, something like that. My parents were pushing me into that
No
bullshit.
way.
And then I was in. I keep telling people this, which is like one of the most mind blowing things about Romanian childhood. I don't know if you experienced it, but like in the competitiveness of the
Oh yeah.
lawlessness of the early '90s, everybody was very like all the kids had to get like big grades, had to like whatever I hear about like Asian children in England, that felt like my childhood in Romania.
That's for sure. Yeah.
And then the parents were like so competitive that like a drawing class when we were like 8, like half of the drawers were made by mothers. I don't know if you experienced that, if you remember it at all.
I do, because I think I remember when I don't know if you remember. I mean, I used to have to collect leaves
Okay.
when autumn start, like fall, the fall
Yeah,
started,
I remember that.
and I would just like, because the teacher would be like, oh, just put them like randomly, however you want, on a piece of paper.
Okay.
And my mom would just be like, oh, this looks like shit. I have to redo it again. And then she would do everything. And then I would wake up. Sometimes I remember I went to sleep
Yeah.
with my mom still doing my homework. And then the next day I have to wake up and go through my homework before I go to school. So I don't
I
understand.
honestly really resent my parents for that, for being so small minded, and like for some reason they thought if I do my own drawing, that's gonna kill my chances of becoming an astronaut. For them, it was the process was so streamlined, and just this drawing is the only thing that stands in my way.
But you see, this is the craziest thing, because like everyone did this.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah, it was wild. I just feel like
There were a minority of children that did their own drawings.
true. Yeah, that's actually they need to have someone speaking on their behalf and see how they managed to get through. Because yeah, no, it was crazy. And I remember I don't know if it's happened to you as well, where parents were, because I always felt like I did well at school. I did like really well, not to brag,
Okay.
but the thing is, I could see the jealousy, and like, not my
And the
fellow
parents.
kids, yeah, on the other parents' eyes. And
Yeah.
it was just like one of the most embarrassing things. Like, I remember when I had to go and like pick up my diplomas,
Okay.
it was like it felt more like a walk of shame, because everyone was clapping,
Okay.
but you could see in their eyes that they were just like, oh, I hate you.
Okay. No, I didn't. I was on the other end of the stick. All the other parents were angry at me because I was disturbing the class, and again, I was ruining the chances of my classmates becoming astronauts.
What's the, is anyone like in, I don't know, your class, who's either like become the president, or
No,
on the
no, there's nobody like crazy successful. There's like a guy like I think one of my friends is probably the most successful, and he's like just like a contractor, like he does like scamming on the like whatever I call any sort of software scamming, because
okay,
it's
yeah.
they're just building shit who nobody needs.
And well, but I mean, that's the thing. This is like mind blowing, because I haven't got to think about these things in school, I think, since now,
Okay.
because it's, just like I just put it in a bit of on my brain. I was like, this will never be discussed about. And then, but no, so then you're saying that obviously you had to give up your early dreams of becoming an astronaut, and then you were like, oh, I think comedy.
I know. I always kind of comedy always for some reason always like a so. Remember, this is like the earliest realization I have in my memory that I want to be like comedy makes sense to me. They had we had like some sort of variety shows on like the national television station in Romania with like a sketch and then like a song and then like another sketch, with like Dem Radulescu
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
Liu
yeah,
Călinescu,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
those like the early '90s
yeah.
ones, and then yeah, like a music thing. And I remember always being angry when the music moment started. I felt like, come on, just do another sketch. What's with this? What's with the lulling around now?
I remember. It's funny you said that, because I remember one of my first, or like first one of the first times when I kind of thought about, oh my god, this looks so cool. It was oh god, I forgot his name. He's got three names. Doru Octavian Dumitru.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he would do all these things about like, oh, my mother-in-law, and it's obviously, I feel like it's one of the like, it's a thing that you would imagine to see on TV that back then, but then to me it was just mind blowing.
Okay.
The fact that people were just like, drawn to him, and then he would like make up those voices when he's like a child or like
Okay.
childish, and people were just like losing their shit over this, and I was like, wow, this is crazy.
I kind of remember the phenomenon, but also like Dr. Octavian, I was like also like a bit of a snobbish kid, and also I wasn't really connected to the culture or so on. So like both Dr. Octavian Dumitru and Vacanța Mare, I completely missed,
No
like
way.
100% missed. And then after I started comedy, I heard other comedians sharing their memories of them, and I feel like for Dr. Octavian Dumitru, I remember I was definitely in the UK the first time I watched the video and kind of said, okay, I see some structure there.
Seriously?
Like before, yeah.
Wow.
30 something years, I just thought it's a babbling idiot. But now, obviously, he has like structure, and yeah, you can't be successful.
Which is again because like, that's the thing. I remember this when I was like under 10,
Okay.
and then now I still haven't watched it again, but I remember just like seeing it. I remember the Vacanza Mare. The reason why I stopped watching it is because when I was so before I came here when I was in primary school, I accidentally, although everyone at home called me Liviu,
Okay.
there was another guy called Liviu in my class, and because I didn't want to be a clash, I said my middle name, which I hate and I've never used since, which is Costel.
Okay.
And then everyone used to do the
Lana and
Vacanza Mare
Costel.
bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And that put me off liking Vacanza Mare so much because like every time I would like even try to watch it, the sound of like people shouting the name, it was just
He's
unbearable
a
for me.
traumatic comedic character.
Yeah, and I think every time people will be like, oh my god, have you watched Vacanza Mare? It's really good, and I'd be like, no,
Okay.
I have no interest in watching. Just because every video, every little bit of like a video on YouTube where they had the Lana and Costel thing, Costel comes out, I'm like, I'm done. But okay, so we've got like we're building a timeline here. You said that you started comedy in 2006,
2006, yeah.
and the first comedy club in Romania opened in 2003.
Yeah, that's when they first had the first stand-up nights. I always kind of like to make the differential because I feel like, especially like people in the West don't really get it. We didn't get comedy in 2003. We just started calling it stand-up comedy. We had comedy before, but we just didn't call it that.
But then, where were you? Because did you do it in the same place that you were born, or did you leave your hometown?
Oh yeah, I left my home. But I'm from a small town, so I would have left to go to college either way. And I do remember I had to choose between like Iași, which is like closer, and most of my friends went there. And then I went to like Bucharest, which was further away and bigger and so on. But I felt like, well, I didn't share it with anybody, but I felt like I could somehow be a comedian in Bucharest. I couldn't imagine doing it in Iași.
That was my next question, was whether you kind of like, did you factor into consideration that you might become, or like that you want to become a comedian?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I kind of, part of me was, I did bad in school. So part of me was, okay, I'm going to take college seriously because school was also, it was just kind of bullshit. It didn't really teach you anything, like anything useful. And, but I felt like college has to be like useful stuff. And then I went to college for like, I don't know, like a month and a half. And then I realized, no, I'm actually bad at sitting down and listening to a teacher. I just can't do that.
What did you try? What was it that you signed up for?
Like ASE, like economics college.
Oh wow, that's not easy either. So
no, I didn't like it at all.
My parents are both were accountants, so
okay.
Yeah, but so you obviously you're in Bucharest. You were like 1 month and a half in.
So and basically, I can't somewhere in like the spring of the first year, I found out about the comedy club, and I went there and I saw a show, and then the season kind of ended, and I was like, when I started my second year of college, like first open mic they ever had in the country, I was one of the people in that signed up for the first open mic.
No way. And looking back at it, like what was your thought process? Like, did you write down like a set beforehand, or did you kind of just went on
Oh yeah, like
thinking?
all summer. Like I thought about like I kind of thought about what I'm gonna talk about like all summer.
No way.
And
And
then I had like I remember having like a joke that I kept trying on people and I remember closing the show with that closing my set with that with that joke.
but then did you tell anyone over the summer that, hey guys, by the way, I'm working towards this,
Like
like your friends or something?
my close friends and stuff. Yeah, I told some of my close friends, but also I did some stuff. You know, they had uh they I was also funny with, so they kind of my close friends wouldn't take it as a surprise that I want to become a comedian because they knew I was funny.
Right.
And then like you remember they had the big sort of at the beginning of the year in high school they did like for the freshmen like a sort of a show with all the
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
freshmen.
The oh god.
It's like a Miss and Mister kind of
Yes, 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 yes.
and I did some I remember I did a sketch for like two of them, so I kind of I was and
Oh,
yeah I remember I I have like a tape of the sketch and I think it's still quite maybe not good, but I'm proud of this the thing I do remember that people kind of wanted to do like a sketch mimicking about like sketches on TV. And I said,
oh
well,
yes.
and I thought
Okay,
like that's irrelevant. Let's just do a sketch mimicking the teachers because that's relevant for us. And it was quite funny, and a lot of teachers got upset, which
of
also made it
course.
way funnier.
Yeah, that's actually amazing because I remember. Uh, I think actually you see what I was gonna say. I remember you see those things on like I don't know, like American like high school, movies or like TV series where someone makes fun on stage of the teacher, and the teacher is like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! Such a talent." And then here is you making fun of the teacher in a
Oh, yeah, no,
sketch, and
yeah,
they're like,
listen.
"I hate this. He's never coming to class." But you've got. I mean, what was it then? Obviously, you do the open mic. How regular was it?
It was like every week. It was like every Monday, and
Oh,
within like something like two. So and then every Monday they would do the open mic, and then they would have the Friday Saturday with the people that
professional or
the professionals, the guys that started in 2003.
that's
uh, for the longest time, it wasn't like there was like a big for the longest time, like literally like another 10 years maybe after that, there was like a big schisma between like uh, a big cliff between between the old guard of comedians and the new stand-up comedy people. And the new stand-up comedy people weren't really accepted. And they
interesting.
weren't, yeah, they weren't sort of like I know Dorok and Dumitru berated some of them on TV at the beginning.
Seriously,
Yeah, it was
I
like
had
a
no
thing.
idea.
They're sort of I don't know why, but yeah, they one of the things was the fact that we swore on stage, and that was a big no for them. I don't know, but for the longest time until the stand up comedians started being like undeniably successful,
Yeah,
the TV people would really look down on us.
interesting.
It was like a big thing, yeah, and then that sort of that gap sort of filled in with money.
Oh yeah, of course. I can imagine. Then but how did you? I guess make up or how what was it then like to think about? Oh, I want to make this into a career. Because obviously it's something new. It's like new for you. It's new for the country.
But also, I was like when you're I was like 20. So when you're 20, you don't think about the career. You think about I was earning some money. So as long as I'm earning some money, it felt like you work at McDonald's and you're proud when you're 20. But and then I remember I don't know if it's like in my I'm fairly certain it was like so I did my first open mic in like 2006, and then eventually I was doing Friday Saturday, but then within like 2 months they opened up the Thursday, and I was one of the regulars on the Thursday, and I know for a fact like something like a year and a month in, I had like a really good month of doing comedy, and I made more money I knew what my mom's salary was, and I made more money than that, and I felt okay. And also I never really wanted to do anything else. I don't like having a boss, and I don't really like I don't know if there's a company I kind of feel like, well, you guys are doing God's work here.
I don't
Most
think.
companies are just digging a hole, just getting us closer to hell.
Yeah, which is I think it's a fair assumption because yeah, you can't. I don't know. I personally think, although I'm every each with their own, but I kind of get to the point where, a day job, like now a day job is a day job, but yeah, I see sometimes people who are like dedicating themselves to a company or like to their say to their work, but it's not even work for someone else. It's just for a just someone who doesn't even know their name,
Oh yeah, yeah.
sort of thing. And I'm like, this is kind of I
If
don't know.
if you go to like any McDonald's, there is somebody there whose heart and soul is in that McDonald's, and they're paid minimum wage, and nobody cares about them.
And it's kind of like I think soul crushing, to the point where you're like, well, again, like, I remember being because I think I kind of like I went on being that guy where I was like, oh, I gotta work and I gotta get another job and I get another job and you work really hard and you're like, oh my god, look at how amazing I'm doing, but then nobody gives a fuck, and
Yeah.
I mean, again, and then to actually come to that crushing realization that nobody gives a fuck, it's even worse for me as an individual because I'm like, so who have I done this for? So I guess at least once you had like this trajectory where you're like, I kind of know that I'm just gonna work for myself and I'm just gonna do all these things.
I never got this from like a very early age. I never got this about other people because I remember at school as well, people were just kind of giving it their all at like religion class or like just sort of a class like biology, which nobody really like you're not never gonna use any of that bullshit, and they were really giving it them all, and they're nice with the teacher, even though the teacher was a dickhead to us, and I never really got why people did that, and I always got in trouble for it, but then uh, eventually I got confidence in the fact that I'm doing the right thing, and that kind of helped me when I found the thing that I wanted to do.
That's really interesting because I always assumed that was because you I remember this thing where like it's about the perception, that you respect authority, and it's about the perception. Like it wasn't even about how you really felt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was more about how it looked like you felt.
Oh yeah, yeah. And my parents were trying to explain this to me, and I felt like, "Are you stupid? What the fuck am I supposed to listen to you?"
I remember when I was when I was a kid, for example, like because I grew up in a Christian Orthodox community, and it was actually quite like strong Christian Orthodox. So
Okay.
like my dad would do, I think everyone in the community was giving money to church, but my dad would, but then in the same time at home, my dad would be like, oh, it's all bullshit. Like I don't believe in, like my dad was an atheist,
Okay.
but then he was an atheist, but then he would walk out of the house and be like, God bless you. And he would be like, here is like, so, but then you'd be, I don't know, say like there would be like a Easter or Christmas holiday. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, everyone else's family goes to the church. Are we going to the church? My dad would be like, no chance. And I was like, what is happening? This is like, it felt like, I don't know. I don't know. Well, actually, I was going to say dystopian, but I don't know what dystopian means, to be honest. But it kind of felt just
it
you live two lives at once.
yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Maybe for like our parents, it made more sense because they had to, with like the secret police listening to their thoughts and stuff, because they lived through that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it still feels like they should have kind of woken up out of it, and they still somehow didn't. Like my parents still care more what their neighbors think about them than what I think about them.
I mean, I think that's such a now. Sorry, because I'm just trying to make some order in my thoughts. Because actually, that's such a real thing. Where I remember every time, or like I remember, I think even now sometimes my first thought when something happens, like again by nature is what would X, Y, or Z think.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
oh, what's someone else gonna think when they see this?
yeah.
And then I'm like, hang on a minute, who
And
gives a fuck?
I live with that as well. Like a lot of times when I fail at something, I do kind of
Yeah.
feel like, oh my god, that those people are gonna think I'm a failure. Those people don't even know that I try to do that. But it's somehow that gets into your brain, and it's hard to escape that thought.
This is a thing where it's so hard, not heartbreaking, but it's kind of hard. It's difficult to deal with because I know at times it's a lot about like, oh, the perception of things, and I'm like, yeah, like I said, on the bigger picture, actually nobody really cares. It's it's like again, they might care for a little bit, but ultimately it's still about how well I'm doing. It's not about, like, although I say I care about someone else for a bit, maybe there is some envy for a while,
Yeah.
but then ultimately I'm like, oh fuck it, I got my own shit to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're again, this is happening in, what was it like then, when you did comedy in Romania, going from Bucharest? Was it like big outside of Bucharest, or like did you have to travel outside?
I started like in the beginning. We just did like Bucharest, and like right when I started, I think the guys that would do the Friday Saturday, they started to kind of do like some of the bigger cities, and like once in a while we were like basically the B team from that club, and then once in a while would do other cities as well. It was also like it's a lot of there was a lady that was like managing, and then she got fired, and then nobody did any shows,
No
and then we
way.
had to we had to we had to kind of build it up ourselves. And then there was like another dude who's like famous in Italy now. He's like very he was very on top of it, and he just kind of started calling clubs in Romania and putting on shows and stuff.
Oh,
So yeah, everybody took their own path. I kind of just I waited for shows, and I did my I also had fun at all the shows. For in my head, head, it took me a long time to realize that it's more about the audience and about that I'm having fun. But in the beginning I was having fun literally every time I
which is
got
fair
on
enough, because
stage.
again, you're like what, 20, 21?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I
Used to post. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I don't think I mean, again, I think most people would think that, oh yeah, I'm having a great time. It doesn't matter how everything else, like how everyone else goes, because it's again, you're the center of your own,
Yeah.
universe, I guess. But okay, so that's like not. But then again, 9 years of doing this, like doing comedy back home, and I don't know what was it, did you feel like it was all a like a, it was like a ladder almost, or like steps, where you just like go up, or was it, did you have loads of, I guess, curves?
I had curves and stuff, but the industry kind of kept going up. So even in my downturn, it wouldn't like next week would still be better than last week. But even though my career was kind of going down, but somehow comedy kept growing, so I wasn't as down as I.
And how did you like, what did that feel like for you? Because I think the reason why I'm asking you this, so the reasoning behind this is mostly that, again, it's it's a new thing, like stand-up comedy. You're like doing stand-up like this, like I guess like a western-ish way. It's a new thing, so you have nothing to compare it with.
Yeah, but again, I was like earning a living, and I was just having fun every day. So I was kind of, yeah, I was getting addicted to all the substances and stuff. So it was just a nice part of your of your young 20s, the first part of your 20s, which is should be fantastic.
And did you leave to do stand-up comedy before you moved here? Did you like go to other countries
So I
first?
went to like America for like 2 summers.
No
So
way.
basically, in the first couple of years, comedy it was like the school season. Like in the summer, the comedy club would shut down,
Yeah.
and I think the first 3 or 4 summers I would just still go back to my hometown and just kept experimenting with substances there
No way.
for the summer. And then like after I think when I was like 26 or something, I felt like I was like too old to do that,
Yeah.
and I had the whole summer, so I felt like, okay, let's just go to America and see what that's like.
That's amazing. So how did you do comedy in America?
I did, yeah. I went to like the work and travel
Yeah.
thingy. So I did like a thing. I went to like a shitty college so I can get on the work in progress. Working. It was like one of the smartest things I did, because they hook you up with like a place to stay. They
Yeah,
hook
yeah,
you
of
up with
course.
like a visa, with everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was, and you only had to do. I went to like the shittiest, Spiru Haret.
Yeah.
The politicians go there. Uh, so yeah, and it was LA. The only thing was I wanted to go to either LA or New York, and I went to like LA. And I remember I worked in like a parking lot, which was still fun, still very fun to drive all the fucking cars.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool though.
And then did open mics. I would do like 2 or 3 open mics a day. I was like very, I was, yeah, I was very objective focused, sort of.
That's amazing. And then, because I know you have that part of work and travel where you kind of you finished your work and then you're meant to like travel and like
Oh yeah,
hang
I
around.
stayed in LA
You
and I did
stayed in
open
LA and
mics. Yeah,
you just kept doing open mics.
yeah, I stayed in LA.
It's so that's so cool. And what was it then? You know, when you, I guess, when you did comedy in Romanian, like, did you change, or like, did you feel like you had to change a lot, or you know, between like, is it almost like you had to put a character on
In Romania, as opposed to here,
as opposed to here, or vice versa?
not that much, but the way I would the way I would describe it from now, like when I speak Romanian, I also have like a thick accent. When I started comedy, I start my sets with, "Hey, I'm Radu, I'm from there," and then eventually I outgrew it in Romania. But here, I can't seem to outgrow the "Hey, I'm Radu, I'm from there" part. I could if
Interesting.
if I chose if I worked on my accent, but I don't want to do that.
Fair enough.
And then I, for some reason, I can't talk to people without telling them where I'm from. They can't. They really can't pay attention, no matter how central London, how many nationalities are there. It's will be like a 300 seater with like 100 nationalities. Everybody, well, what's his nationality?
Which is fair, because I think it's I don't know. Sometimes I find it really funny, but also I find it amazing because I've met loads of people around UK, or like from my travels in Europe, or wherever else I've been to, and they would have lived their whole lives outside of the country where they're from, but then they still have like the thickest, like and I think of someone in particular, a friend of mine from Manchester. He's been in Manchester for over 25 years, so actually he lived more in Manchester than he's lived in Italy, but he still got the strongest Italian accent you can imagine. Like he's got children, which I think are probably like my age, or a little bit like younger than me,
Yeah.
that speak again English in like a Mancunian accent. But then their dad is just like this strong, like, "Hey, how's it going?" You know, and I just find it phenomenal to an extent. I find it amazing.
But yeah, 'cause you learn how to speak, and then you learn how to speak, and then you have to you learn how to speak effortlessly, and then you have to put an effort to change it. And I don't want to put an effort
That
to
effort,
change it.
yeah, which is fair enough. I think sometimes I had this I guess I would say a problem, because a couple of years ago I was like, "Oh, who am I? Like, where? Like, what do I like? Yeah, where am I from? Like, what's happening with me?" And I would actually try to go even like more English, and in the last few years I was like, "Ugh, no, I'm tired. I can't," because I think I see your point, but I have this picture in my head where I'm like, I got here,
Yeah.
that's it. I don't want to cross that line. I don't want to, to go any further. Although again, for a while, I remember when I maybe like 6 7 years ago, I was trying so hard. Like I used to watch videos on YouTube of this like lady speaking with a British accent,
Okay.
and I would just like try to copy it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it just kind of it makes me cringe a little.
Yeah, I get the cringe. Because also, like, the UK has a shit ton of accents, so you still pick one accent that doesn't really represent you. It's not like there's. I think people in Romania think there's a British accent, but there's not a British accent. There's like 100 of them.
Well, this is the thing, because I grew up in Manchester, and then trying to have a Cockney accent in Manchester. It didn't. I'm not saying it made sense. It really made no sense whatsoever. But yeah, and look, so you're in. Did you gig with anyone? Like, did you see any comedians in LA that are like now, like big names, or like they are like known, and you're like, oh,
I've definitely seen, like, at the comedy store. I've seen like all the Bill Burr, and I've seen Norm live once at the comedy store. Oh, Sebastian Montiscalo, I remember seeing him, like, he was at the store like every night for the both summers
oh
I was
wow.
there, and I remember not really liking him, like being kind of annoyed when he got on stage. But like now he's like one of my favorite people.
I think it's really I kind of I kind of get it, because I know sometimes when I started in Manchester, I'd and obviously because most of the times I like bump into people at open mics, I'm like I wouldn't laugh and I'm like, this person is not good, or like not good. I don't like this person.
Yeah.
And then you actually see their, stuff on either TV, or you hear that they had a good run at the Fringe, and then you're going, or like you're on a bill with them where I still do like a 5 or like a 7 minute between pro acts, and then they do an actual middle or an opening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, okay, I'm really sorry, I have to take it back, because
It takes a while to kind of learn that your tastes aren't the general tastes. At least it took me a while. But also, yeah, it's still like the comedy game is still a lot of it is based on luck, especially on the short run. So it doesn't really mean anything. There's a nice chat. The comedians, the documentary Jerry Seinfeld made.
what, the comedians in cars getting coffee?
No, there's one actual comedian
Oh, okay.
with Jerry Seinfeld and he like Orny Adams. And I've seen it like 20 times.
No way.
It's very, very good.
Let's
Well,
check it out.
at one point, him and Gary Shandling were talking in the car, and they were talking the exact same thing. I remember you got on Jay Leno before, you got on Carson before me, and that crushed me. But like on the long run, it really doesn't mean anything.
Well, this is as well, and I was going to ask, because you kind of like raised a very important, not a very important point, but like something very interesting about, when you watch someone else's comedy.
Yeah.
Do you like, is the comedy that you like similar to the comedy that you make, or
It's I like some of I could say the big comedians that are my influences, but also there are like some comedians I really like that I have no, like Tim Vine. There's nothing I really like Tim Vine. There's nothing in between my act and Tim Vine. I think we use any of the same words in the whole hour of us speaking, but yeah, some styles of comedy and I like watching those because they're like more relaxing somehow. I feel like when I'm watching somebody that I would say is from my genre, I don't fully relax. I feel like I'm at work. I'm just kind of comparing while he's saying that. I'm saying just sort of.
interesting.
So I used to. Yeah, I think I don't enjoy it as much now as I used when. Yeah.
But then when you were in, basically when you were in the States, and you were saying that you would do, you were like objective focused, you're going there, and you're like, hey, I gotta do 2 3, or like, again, you do as many shows as you can every day. Was it the same thing in Romania? Like, is that, or was that the same routine that you would do back home, or did you have to like change,
In the first couple of months, I like first things I did. I translated some bits, and then even when I got when I even when I like the bits I had translated, I remember I did like a Laugh Factory audition and I passed with like one with like a translated joke, but then I still felt like, well, it's still not as good as the original, and then I sort of just concentrate on writing new stuff. And also, it kind of makes sense because you're like a new kid you're like a comedian in a new environment.
yeah.
You're supposed to be able to write new stuff. Like it felt like I'm consuming my energy wrongly by translating.
Well, yeah, I think, when again, I might be wrong, but I think in this situation is as well that the when you're doing, I guess, like observational stuff, you observe so many things because like so much stuff is new to you, right?
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I guess it comes more naturally. No, yeah, it kind of comes more naturally because you don't have to go like, oh, I've been here my whole life. I wonder what is it that's surprising me today.
Yeah,
But-
it's easier to observe stuff when you're in a new environment. Yes.
and then you came to, so obviously like the work and travel thing is over, which I'm actually like super jealous because I wish I kind of did it because I love America,
Okay.
and I would love to have like every single chance to be there.
I think some jealousy pushed me to it as well because like eventually I like when I was in my normal college years, I knew of people that did it, and I was that was the time when I was just kind of drinking and getting high. But I felt like, well, yeah, no, that sounds good too.
But then, what was gonna? Oh God, because the what are other comedians that you knew of who did the same thing?
And
Like they went to America.
no. I think I'm definitely the first that out of. Well, we're like 12 comedians, so yeah.
One of the, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm the first, and I think I'm out of the people that started comedy in Romania. I'm the only one that transferred countries. There are a bunch of Romanian comedians that started comedy in uh, in English speaking countries, but I think I'm the only one that started in Romania and actually transferred.
Okay, and then well, now that brings us to the I think I mean to me it's a big question I'm dying to ask is
Yeah.
what was your train of thought when you moved? Like, why did you want to move to England? Or like, I guess not even why did you want to move. Why did you want to move? What was your train of thought when you were in Romania and you're like, hey, you know what? I think I gotta take this elsewhere.
There was like a couple of things. One was I remember everybody was kind of getting into like little projects, but I wasn't really attracted to doing anything specifically. But I still felt like it's time for me to get a project, and this felt like a project. It felt like a thing that it's achievable in my head, and then it was also the thing of I felt like after deciding I like comedy, I still sort of discovered like a lot of stand up comedy when I was like in the late part of my high school, and then I watched like all the stand up comedy I could get, and and like it was the same like all of the 12 comedians or maybe like 8 of them would know like all of the comedians that you could ever see on the internet. We knew all the jokes and stuff, and it almost didn't feel like I was actually a comedian in Romania because it was like just watching through the window to like another to like the real comedians, and
Yeah.
it felt like that sort of gap would never be breached unless I actually go there. I felt like I felt like no matter how big I would get in Romania, I would still kind of feel like I would still kind of feel like, well, but I'm not one of the real people.
That's amazing because I feel that's amazing in the respect of you were saying about how other people were getting their projects and they'd feel like things are moving on, but then you'd also like see some projects and you're like, oh, this is actually not for me. To kind of like have that sort of you know thought process, because I think
Yeah.
as an outsider you'd think that you see something and you're like, hey, look, okay, maybe I'm not happy with this, but I gotta do it because what's the other choice, or like the other choice is too big, it's too scary, it's like it's too much of a difference, like I
Okay.
have to do a little bit too much, so I'm just gonna
But I honestly felt like this is more of what I was doing because I was still doing stand up. Like all the
ah,
other things other comedians would do was just like internet stuff or like TV stuff, but
yeah,
still like a sketch, like a different form of comedy. And then yeah, like a different sort of thing altogether. And I just kind of I wanted to do. Yeah, this
just
was
stand up.
yeah. I just carried on doing stand up. Basically, I just changed languages.
But then what was it, yeah, why London?
Oh, then they canceled my visa for America. I was gonna go to LA,
Sorry.
and they canceled my visa. That's fine. I don't. I'm happy. I'm happy. I think it was for the better. I'm not sure. You can't ever be sure. But
Okay.
like the big difference between the UK and America is there's like a circuit in the UK that you can kind of make a living on. So I was able
Okay.
to. I moved here and I worked for like I don't know, like 7 months, and then I was able to kind of make a living by just doing comedy. Whereas in America, I think it's either you're poor forever, and then something happens that changes that. But it's sort of I think I would have had to have a job for like 6 years, and I don't know if I would have lasted that long.
Okay, that's a very fair point. I remember at one, oh god, many years ago, I was listening to a podcast, and I can't remember. I think he might have been in Mark Maron, but I'm not sure. Anyway, but there was this conversation about someone who was saying this thing that in America you would kind of like get no money, or you get like headline money,
Yeah,
while in England you have like loads of people who say like you get a split bucket. And I remember there was all this thing about the different types of jealousies where you go to America and you're like, oh, I'm way better, like the audience loved my stuff much more than they love the headliners, why did I get paid, while in here you get to the point where everyone gets a little bit, or like everyone gets something,
okay,
but it's not as much of a difference.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was quite interesting to listen to that then and now to listen to your reason, or like to listen to your thought, and go like, oh yeah, yeah, that's actually a thing.
Yeah, like in the UK, even if you're a headliner, you're still struggling financially. But in America,
Yeah.
you kind of stop struggling when you become a headliner.
Well, but I think well, that's the thing. I guess the consistency can help out a bit, or I guess in the but still, like it's mind blowing to think that you got here and then in like I said 7 months. That's fast.
But also, so the I had like because I had done it in America, I already had like a 15-minute bit. Not
Ah,
great, but I had like a 15
okay,
minute
okay,
material I
okay.
could kind of rely on, and I kind of like the for some I kind of understood the industry up until club level. So I felt like that helped a lot because I had like the experience from Romania and a bit of experience from America and so on. I didn't know what to do after I made it to the clubs. I still don't. That's the
But the thing is, you say that, but then you must have like, I guess, have you ever like, have you questioned yourself at any point, or have you ever felt like, oh, I should have not done this, or I wish I did it the other way, or
oh
something
yeah.
like that?
I I I question myself like I have like big moments of I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do next or something. Like I've had definitely like weeks or like months or something of just me standing still, not knowing which way to go. But also like I never tend to kind of regret anything I did because it's kind of done and there's no point.
Have you always thought like, have you always had this sort of like, I don't know, attitude or like mindset? Because you seem like very grounded, very.
I've I've gotten in trouble a lot as a my childhood was a big pressure. I had like pressure from everybody around me, so I kind of eventually stopped caring.
Ah,
I
okay,
think
fair.
that's
Because then you're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, none of it matters.
but that's amazing. Because honestly, I feel, um, I don't know why, but I feel like growing up, or every time I speak with it was actually quite funny because I think when you first got here and before we started recording, I felt this thing of like, oh, I'm with someone from like Romania, so I gotta make sure that it's all this thing about like there is like something on a table,
Okay.
everything looks nice or whatever, and I just was like, I've never felt this sort of like I guess not even anxiety, but like this sort of like checklist in my head
Okay.
with any other guest before.
Okay. Well, I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
No, no, it's not. I don't even. It's not in
It's just I understand. It's just your. I understand. Yeah, it's just different for you.
and it was just wild because I almost like feel like, and I even think now when I speak with my family back home,
Okay.
or and I always feel like I have to justify doing comedy, or like I have to be like, but like I got like a paid spot last month, like that was pretty cool.
When did you leave Romania?
Oh God,
What year?
2012.
Oh, okay. Yeah, less than 2015. I still kind of go back, but I'm kind of every time I go back, I kind of learn that the country is also changing. So like whatever Romania is in my head, it's not what Romania is right now.
But you see, this is the thing you say. For so long, I felt like, I don't know. I felt like the almost, like the closed community thing that I grew up in, and everything was like just judgment, like judge. And then I go now and I'm like, oh, it's a bit chill, like it's a bit more relaxed. It's not like I have fun when I go home. But I also think that's because I've changed my attitude towards like, I don't care what any X, Y, or Z is going to think. I'm just going to do whatever I want, or like I'm just going to do what I feel like is best, and
Yeah.
that's it. But it's taken a very long time.
Yeah, we do learn some bad lessons in our childhood, and then it takes like decades to unlearn them.
And I also think, because it's not to say that, at least from my perspective, it's again, it was a lot of like self anger and self hatred that was piled up with it. But I think loads of people have this thing where you kind of like, you just put like all the bad memories, you just link them to, like, I remember the first time I went to, no, wait, the first time I went to Romania, I think, after I came here, and I've no, I missed the flight. It was actually coming back. I missed the flight it was freezing cold, and every time I was in the Suceava airport,
Yeah.
I just feel so uncomfortable when I'm in that airport. I just feel so angry all the time. So like, just get me out of here. And I kind of realized I was like, oh yeah, that's why. Because I in my head I was like, oh, this is a bad place, but it's not. It's just I was freezing cold once because the flight got canceled.
I think I have that with like Manchester, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, like when I came, I kind of felt like, okay, do whatever you can and so on. So I did like mega buses to Manchester, and I so regret doing them. I never, like even now, I don't. I can live my whole life without ever gigging in Manchester and still be fine. But for some reason, I thought then it's very important to take like a 7 hour mega bus, do a gig, and then a night mega bus back.
Oh my
And
god!
I've done that at least like 10 times, probably even more. It was like sometimes it felt like, well, it's an opportunity, I'm gonna go. It wasn't even like thinking about it. So yeah, I have that with Manchester.
No
I
way.
remember having it with the train station in Bucharest, but now I don't. Now I kind of enjoy it. Like I've outgrown that, but I haven't outgrown my
The Manchester.
the Manchester trauma.
I don't blame you, because I feel like especially the national service, or like whatever it's the national, yeah,
National
the
Express.
the National Express station.
Yeah.
It's probably like one of the worst places in the,
Oh
I
yeah.
want to say in the world. I'm dramatic, but I am, because it's kind of like it's in the place. It's like near nightclubs. It's actually like around the corner from the gay village. So like you have people who are like out to party, but then you also have a lot of predators around, and then you also have like loads of like I don't know, just people that are just like sick after being drunk. And especially when you take a night bus, because I used to take them sometimes, I think, to come to London or stuff like this. And I was just, the stuff that you see outside the station, basically, I don't think you see it in many places in the world.
Yeah, I agree. And then the mega bus, they don't even have a station; they just stop at
Just
somewhere
go.
randomly. Yeah.
Yeah. This is actually a very crazy thing. 'Cause I remember when I was a kid um, in Romania, this is actually one of the things I thought about recently, and it kind of blew my mind that my mom used to just like put me in a bus,
Okay.
and I was like 7, and she would just like put me in a bus, and then the bus driver would take me to like my grandparents' place,
Yeah.
and my mom was fine with it. Like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
parents, like the thing in Romania, where like my parents were just like, that was like a 7 hours journey, like a 6 hour
Okay.
journey.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot. But that I remember because it was also before phones and stuff, so we
Yeah,
didn't really have that need to be connected all the time and kind of know where the other person is at the all time.
but still, the idea of like just being fine with your child to just like, okay, he's in a bus.
There's I don't know what you call it, but you can do something if you have apparently partners do this. They track each other's phone somehow.
Oh,
It has a name or something, and there's a lady comedian who does at the shows. She does a joke about it, but she kind of before she does the joke, she asks, "Hey, who here thinks it's okay to do that?" And there's always like 10 people that kind of go, "Yes, I think that's a healthy relationship," and that creeps me out so much. It really the fact that people
fair.
exist that think that's a good idea. I feel like we're at a different extreme now of too much interconnection to the point that there are like out of and I've seen her do that bet like at least 10 times, and like 10% of the room always kind of goes, yes, absolutely, I want to be able to track my boyfriend. And I feel like, ew, no, call the police.
Why?
I fuck off. I don't want to talk to you.
Which again, I think yeah, I think it depends on the reason. No, that sounds bad. No, I think basically the reason why I say this is because I use Find My.
Okay, I'll find my phone.
Yeah, I use it because you can find like you find your friends on the map,
Okay.
and I still like I have like some of my closest friends that we like see each other's location.
Okay.
Because basically the thing is we used to live together in Manchester, so we basically would see if one of us was out. So then we'd like just be, hey, do you wanna meet, or like do you wanna hang?
I
It kind
guess.
of like just
I
kept
think
it as a,
I think in couples it's more about jealousy than actually
yeah, but that
convenience.
that's for sure. I feel like it's such an
and possessivity and so
Yeah, and if you
the
can't trust
worst
someone,
trait
then
of humankind. And then it kind of blows my mind that nobody in the room kind of goes. The other 90 people going, "What the fuck is wrong with?" Like if I would expect them to get, if somebody would say something very racist or like something homophobic, the room kind of goes, "What the fuck did that guy say?" I feel like that's the same reaction you should that those
like,
women that
yeah,
raise
do you
their
think
hands
we
should
should
get.
track your
Yeah,
our partners?
yeah, no, you're sick in the fucking head. Go leave. Let's
Well,
exclude you from society. You shouldn't.
yeah, you can track yourselves and yourselves only.
Yeah.
But look, now we are nine. No, after like, so you're in England. You're doing like this new, not this new, but obviously you're in England. You're doing comedy in English. You still, because you were saying before, and I think that's some of the clips that I remember, or like the times I remember seeing you. You was like with posters on. I think sometimes I actually remember once I saw a poster of you in the UK, and I was like, like, oh my god, homeboy, But what I was gonna ask now is that obviously you're kind of like figuring, like, you're doing things as it goes. You're still like trying to figure out what's next. You've dedicated again like your adulthood to comedy, like adult career, like your career basically. It's your this is it.
Kind of, but also I had fun in my adulthood. It's not like I
No, no,
gave
no.
up,
Obviously, I'm
kind of.
not saying in the respect of like, oh, you just said comedy bed, comedy bed, comedy sleep, comedy sleep. But it's more to basically, I was trying to have a very strong build up to.
Okay, okay, sorry, sorry, sorry,
That's
sorry.
okay. The lockdown happens.
Okay,
You're a creative guy. You're doing comedy. You need a public. I get like that's
so
traditionally.
that was like for me for I think when the lockdown happened, I think right before lockdown, I was doing like very well, and I kind of started. I was like doing a lot of Europe stuff, and I was like on a roll, but mostly like admin wise. I remember I was just kind of on a roll of doing stuff, and then it took me up until I think maybe this week or last week to get the same rhythm of admin doing.
No
For some
way.
reason, it took me a long time to rev up again. But when comedy started, I had been on when the lockdown started, I had been on the road for a long time, so I was kind of happy for the break for like the first week, the second week, I just enjoyed it, and and then it was also I loved my life without comedy because like my day didn't have the same structure. It's sort of there's always like a stress at the end of my day, so all of a sudden I had days without that stress at the end.
No way.
So they're kind of there, and then but also I could do nothing now, but the fact that everybody else is doing something that stresses me out and kind of
That's
makes me,
true.
oh, like, you have to do something as well. So, but then because in the pandemic nobody was doing anything, it felt good to
Not too much.
not do much. I kind of I when we started up again, I wrote like a lot of jokes about how I liked the pandemic, and this mostly in my special of how I really really enjoyed it. But right now I still think like we need one pandemic like every 3 or 4 years. Like I think it. I do think it's good for people to kind of take a break from their petty projects and just kind of enjoy the outside and just figure out, just live your day.
Do you now take time when like basically say, how do you feel, because you were saying like obviously it took you again a while until only recently to like get back onto admin at like full speed as it was before the pandemic. But then what about like in other stuff, or for example like holidays? Do you manage to like, do you switch off easily from like, okay, this is the comedian Radu and now this is like me?
Last few years, this year and last year, I actually took I stopped doing Edinburgh, so I just kind of take August off, and I feel fantastic.
No way.
Yeah, it's just, and then like when September comes, it's just like I feel like I feel like I'm not, yeah, I want a gig again, as opposed to like when September comes after Edinburgh, it feels like, "Ugh, I can't.
No
I've been
way.
tortured with gigs all month long."
What was it like then to when you first came to London? Like, did you have to go into like the full like swing of things, and you did the Edinburgh from like the first year, or
Yeah, I did
did
the
you?
Edinburgh in the first year, and then I think I did it in the second. I don't remember if I did. I definitely did in the first year, and I don't remember if the break came in the second year or the third year. But basically, I didn't get like a good enough room, and also Edinburgh is like, you know, if it depends a lot on what room you get,
Yeah,
and some rooms are a bit of a scam because you know the promoters they want you to the
fill up the
promoters
room.
make money from the registration fee basically,
Yeah,
so
that's
they don't
true.
care. They any hallway they can sell to people, they'll sell it. That's what I learned in the first year. That don't take any room. Otherwise, you're just gonna have a bad month, work a lot, and also lose money. So
Yeah, which I think it's mind blowing to hear people who go like, oh, I'm just planning to, you know, like I've saved up all this money throughout the year
yeah,
to just spend it at Edinburgh, and I'm like,
yeah, they have like a day job, and that all their savings and their vacation days they take them for the Edinburgh. And in Edinburgh, nobody comes to see their shows because they got like a shitty room and so on.
and it's I don't know, to me it's just mind blowing because I always have to, I think I kind of always had to, you know, I don't have anything else to like slide back on. So I
Mm-hmm.
was always like work, 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 or like I need to know that some basically I need to know that at the end of the month something's gonna come that's enough for me to live my life.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I'm just gonna lose my shit.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then when I speak with people and I hear this thing, I'm like, wow, this is, to me it sounds like the most foreign, like the most alien thing I can think of. But now I was going to ask you about your because you're talking about like the first the special that you did where you talked about like how you actually enjoyed the lockdown.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't like full. I remember like in the I would enjoy it. I was also so I always switch off when I start smoking weed, and then I switch on when I stop smoking weed. In my head, that's very clearly defined.
No way.
But also if you smoke all the time, it's there's no pleasure in it, and it's just the anxiety, and your tolerance gets higher and higher. And yeah, I can't like for me, I can't smoke all the time. I can smoke like every second of the day for like a month, but then I have to take a break
Interesting.
because I feel yeah.
Then you do it like by your own volition, you know, like okay, that's it now.
I have like enough experience stopping that I'm better and better of knowing when the time is to stop. Uh,
That is pretty cool, you know, because
it's
yeah,
always a bit hard and so
of
on. When
course,
it's always I'm angrier and I'm jumpier for like the first week and and like first couple of weeks and so
yeah,
on. But the more times I give up, the easier it becomes. Every time it becomes easier and easier to stop.
yeah. You've got you're doing the is it politically erect?
Politically erect, yes,
Erect,
that's
yeah, it
the
is the
name of my
show
new
that
the show.
I guess how do would you say like your is it still like a work in progress or you've got it all together and you're just showcasing it
I'm kind
whatever?
of showcasing very good material, kind of, and yeah, it's not like a I constantly write, and then when I do an hour, basically I do my club 20, and then I do my fantasy 20 that I can't really do in a club because it's different when people are there to see you, and when you get an hour, people get to know you better before you can open up more. So I get to like open up more, and then I also I tweak some jokes. So that's all. That's how I see an hour. And then eventually, if I do it for like, so right now I'm kind of at the beginning of the season. And if I
Yeah,
do it for like 6 months, then I feel like okay, this is the show. I know it word for word. But then even if I take like a even I don't do anything with the show, and then I take like a 2 month break, and I want to get back to the show, I can't do it the same. I still go back to the same project of okay, 20 minutes of club, 20 minutes of
but that sounds that's actually that seems like a very very good way of, you know, thinking about it.
I think it's like a natural way, and it's yeah the idea of writing a whole show from scratch and just dumping it and then writing a new show from scratch is kind of it feels like sometimes I did even when I put the special out, I still had like jokes that came on top of the original
Yeah, yeah,
premises.
yeah.
So I'm not gonna drop. I still want to explore those jokes.
Which I think makes sense. I always think of Nate Bargatze, where he had a bit at the end of his last, like at the end of one special, where he was like, "Oh, do you remember like my previous special? Yeah, here is an update on like the things that happened since then." And I like that a lot, because like you said, sometimes you work with something. Because I even noticed now where I have all those bits where, which again, luckily I'm not anywhere near. I'm nowhere near like having. I don't. I think I have a 15 minutes that I'm like, okay, I'm happy with this.
Okay.
But the only reason why I'm saying this is because like, yeah, sometimes you have a bit, and there are bits that I've done ever since I started doing comedy,
Okay.
and I'm like, oh, I think I'm done with it, and then only I think yesterday or the day before I was writing some stuff down, and a new, like something else came up, and I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of glad that I can still build up on this, although I had it for like 3 years.
Yeah. I've had that like 9 years apart between like, okay, I could add that there.
And it feels nice. It feels kind of like, like I said, it's never. I mean, at least for the foreseeable, it looks like it's not going to stop, and I'm kind of happy about that.
Yeah, I like the process of writing and I feel like I just kind of I just find out what I think about things while sort of writing comedy. It's like less superficial than my actual thoughts. My actual thoughts tend to go
Ah,
like I do if I that's all the wars and shit. If
yeah.
I'm very quick to give a verdict when if I just watch the news by myself at home. But if I talk about it on stage, I do think about it more. I do take more responsibility. And
This was actually what I was going to ask next, about how much of yourself do you give to the audiences, because you were talking about how when you write the hour, basically, when you're like, you have a club 20, but then you have another 20 that is the, what did you call it? It was
fantasy, I don't know
the fantasy, yeah, the fantasy 20. So yeah, how much of your actual, like your day-to-day persona you actually give,
and
like how much do I guess people who follow you or your work could feel like, oh, I know Radu.
I think so. I don't know, but I think so. For me, it's kind of very clear, and it's very clear where the real part is and where the joke part is, and what I'm saying. I don't know
Yeah.
if for everybody, but I'm sure some people feel like they know me, and probably those people know me, and then the other people just don't get what I'm doing. That's also gonna be. I'm sure there are a bunch of people in the world that could watch every joke I've ever done and have no idea what I'm coming from and what I'm trying to say.
And I think, oh god, I was going to ask you something. There was going to be another thing about your oh yeah, what's it like then to, obviously you've done your, I guess you're doing comedy here, you're doing it in Romanian. When, for example, you're doing the Edinburgh, actually, because you're traveling a lot in Europe
Yeah.
now, you're starting traveling now as well to
Yeah.
with the shows.
More and more, yeah.
What's it like to then like connect with people from all these like other countries besides the countries that you're either from or you lived in for almost a decade?
Oh, I quite like it, and it was like when I do Europe, it's what I imagined America would be. Because when I first left Romania, I didn't think I was gonna go to America and be like the Romanian dude with an accent. I just kind of felt like, oh no, I'm that personality that fits in those sitcoms. And then when I got to America, I felt like no, everybody looks at me, looks as me as like the cousin from abroad. But then the beautiful thing about Europe is because it's not in wherever I go, it's I don't do a show in that native language. I do it in English, so you get like the most diverse group of audience members, and then I do feel like I outgrow my Romanianship kind of. I do feel like I just can talk about whatever I want to talk about. I feel like they see me as a person. I see them like people.
And then when you travel around, um, has it ever happened for you to have say like, because I'm generally curious, like people from Romania who were like, oh, I thought this is in Romanian, because like they say, they saw it from I don't know, say Germany, or you go to a country where
I've had people from Romania that came to the shows and knew it was in English, but still somehow didn't speak English well enough to understand what I'm saying, and that I don't really know how and why, and I couldn't be insulting. Well, just, just don't come.
uh,
but uh, but yeah, no, I've had that. I remember having because there's not that many, like even at the Fringe, there
yeah,
weren't that many Romanian performers. Even now, I
of
think
course.
I don't know if there's one every year now. Probably there's not one every year. I
I
think this year. Oh no, there's a guy that lives in Glasgow.
okay, I didn't know.
So I think he was at the Fringe this year. But yeah, it's for
Very slim
yeah,
numbers.
when we did, yeah, very same number. So like Romanian people from Scotland, when they hear the Romanian, they would go and see, okay, let's see what that guy's doing, even though they have no idea about my comedy or stand up. And I remember definitely like a lady and a dude with their infant came to the show, sat in the first row, and then eventually I didn't tell them to leave, but they understood they had to leave.
No way.
Because and but
Yeah, of
some
course, but
yeah, but somehow it didn't dawn on them that this is not, you can't come with the infant to a comedy show.
oh god, but I think this happens. I hear, yeah, you hear stories about it like on Twitter or like on the internet where people take children to comedy, or I think, yeah, I guess, was it like a crying baby, or was it at least like
Oh yeah, it was kind
somehow?
of, yeah, and it started making noise literally when I was approaching a punchline, so I got annoyed.
Yeah,
uh,
fair enough.
the youngest heckler I ever had, and I hope he's not doing well in life.
Well, you never know. They might be the next, the next president or next prime minister of England,
I'm not gonna vote for them.
but look, it's been such an amazing time to talk to you. I genuinely, it's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Same. Enjoyed it.
Now, for anyone listening, I will leave your social media below. But if you just want to, I guess, say like what you've got now planned for the end of the year and stuff like that,
So I'm going to
let
like
us know.
Austria, Spain, and then Austria, Spain, and Portugal. That's the only ones I'm doing. I'm doing like a show in London this Sunday. I think it's not going to come out up until then.
No.
Okay. So you've just missed an amazing show at the Belmari.
So the show on Sunday was brilliant show. You missed it, but you still have an opportunity to check out Spain,
But yeah,
Austria, and
I'm gonna do stuff, and I hope I'm not sure yet that I'm gonna keep up the admin, but I hope I will. Like honestly, that's my big hope for this year, to just do enough admins that I wake up in the morning, and I want to have like days when I feel like I don't have anything to do, but I
well,
need to work to that.
I was gonna say, I hope you do. I hope everything goes well, and also your the poster for your politically erect show. I think it's incredible. I love it so much.
Thank you.
That's okay. It's such an amazing poster.
Thank you. I am having problem marketing to women. I need to. Yeah, and it's, I don't talk about relationships at all. It's nothing, but I think I am afraid, and I don't know if that's true, but I am afraid I'm gonna get a Jordan Peterson exclusively audience. But hopefully not. Yeah, I'll see how I'll dance around it.
The thing is that I find, sorry, because I was going to say we wrap, but the thing that I find interesting is that sometimes you have a, say, the the notion of what either the show is about or what you're about, it has nothing to do with what you're actually about. But then people, because for example, it's happened once where someone's messaged me about how basically they also have a personality disorder,
Okay.
but then it turns out that they, or at least like from the way they explain it to me, is that they are the ones who've been abusing their ex-partner now for ages. And they're like, oh, I can't believe like she's blocked me and she's done all these things, like what a bitch. And I was like, No, I kind of get it. The thing is, when you said about like, oh, I think I'm gonna get a Jordan Peterson at mental. Sometimes I'm scared that I get people who are like, yeah, I have a thing where I go like rule Britannia after I talk about like being British, and I had it sometimes where someone was like, fuck yeah, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard not to get the wrong people excited.
Yeah, and with stuff like this as well. But like, how do you? I don't know. I found it difficult to save the conversation then, or like not even the conversation, but just like reading, and it almost felt like a like the Eminem like a Stan moment, which is like, no, you should just seek help, or like you should just look after yourself. Don't anyway.
Yeah.
But to leave on a high note, thank you so much for doing this, and yeah, good luck with the shows.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. See you around the circuit and at the podcast awards.
So, was it good? Was it what you hoped for? Was it better? I hope it was at least what you hoped for, um, if not better. Because look, I think recording it was uh, brilliant. Really enjoyed it, and you'll hear back from me on Friday. Hopefully, I'm trying really hard um, to again do like two episodes for now, just because I've been so forgot the word, privileged, or of having so many incredible guests in the last few weeks, and I just don't want to have, although I prefer having a backlog, I prefer to have episodes in the pocket so I don't have to worry about having content for next week. I don't want to have too much, because I now it's getting to the point where I have about 2 months of worth of interviews. So that's why I kind of like want to get to a place where I don't again just have it, or like keep it for too long, just because I want to make sure that things are still, or like things that we discuss, in case it's something to do with current climate, it's still relevant. So look, again, you'll hear from me on Friday, given that I recover from this weird cold or whatever it is, and I don't feel as sleepy and as tired. But thank you so much for tuning in. Look after yourselves, and as usual, from me, Pickle and Sarma, goodbye, and stay skillful.